for those that have the stomach to make it past page 40 of this book deserve a medal. Welcome back, everybody, to All Hallows Cleave, where we talk about Halloween, scary movies, and in this case, really scary, disturbing books all freaking year round. My name is Kyle, and today we're looking at one of the most disturbing books to make its viral way around the internet, and that is Aaron Beauregard's Playground. And if you've never heard of this book, allow me to ruin your life. About a year ago on social media, and in this case, really book TikTok, this specific book had everybody up in arms, giving us videos like, "This is the most disturbing piece of fiction I've ever read in my entire life." And I'll be honest, I was definitely one of those people, and to a degree still am. And of course, the biggest question on everybody's minds when they saw this book and they saw the videos, why is everybody talking about this book and why is it so messed up? And why the hell was everybody throwing up at the infamous page 40? Well, from me having actually read the book and also talked to the author, let's talk about it. The author, known as Aaron Beauregard, or in this case his company AB Horror, specializes in a horror book subgenre known as splatterpunk. Now, I don't have Wikipedia right up in front of me, but I can roughly explain to you what splatterpunk is. Kind of on the same wavelength as like the Terrifier Grindhouse movies, splatterpunk's sole design is to gross you out, disturb you, shock you, and more or less make you feel like garbage after reading it. And really, splatterpunk's not necessarily my cup of tea, but of course, like many of you, I saw the videos and I said, yeah, absolutely, I have to. Now, this is technically not the first book of Aaron Beauregard. In fact, this isn't even the first one that he really struck gold with. That, in my personal opinion, would go to The Slob, which in my opinion is actually a little bit more diabolical than Playground. Because if there is one thing that Aaron does exceptionally well, is he makes the most despicable human being villain types I've probably have ever read. And in both of these books, he's written some of the worst. What's amazing is I've actually talked to Aaron. He's a ridiculously nice guy. He's just a dude that's come up with some really messed up books. And it's obviously paid well, so hey, more power to you, dude. But now let's get to talking about Playground. Now, I won't spoil the entire book, but there are some things I will spoil just talking about it. However, I will give this video a little viewer discretion advised and a little brief word of caution before finishing this video. Especially a word of caution if you actually decide to pick up this book. I'm not going to beat around the bush. It's rough. For my standards, it is rough. I will also say, especially if you are a parent, this one's going to be extra rough for you. So keep that in mind with, I would say, most, if not every single one of AB Horror's books. Like I said before, they're meant to really push the limit on what the human brain can and should stomach. But if you're still here and with me so far, let's talk about The Playground. Like many amazing, loving fairy tales, I guess if you can kind of call it that, we start off our story in a nice little cute playground with a mother and her son playing. However, lurking in the shadows is a man named Rock, if you really even want to call him a man. This boulderous gorilla of a dude is standing there just staring at this family holding a piece of paper in his hand. And on that piece of paper that he eventually gives them is a very interesting ad. This ad is from a woman named Geraldine, who invites 3 low-income families to join her for one day at her cliffside estate for the family's kids to test out this new innovative playground. And not only are their kids the very first kids to be able to play on this new innovative playground, but the families are also being paid for their day. And once the families get all settled in and the kids start playing is when the real games actually begin. As the parents watch strapped to a chair helplessly, the kids find their way going down a slide into what the real playground actually is. A series of very Saw-like playground whimsy traps in order to see how many kids survive, or if any do. And yeah, as horrific as these traps are, they're insane. Like, they're something else. Imagine a game of hopscotch where with one wrong move ends you up in the saw blades. Imagine a swing set with a massive ravine that you have to cross with fire coming at the bottom of it. A dilapidated merry-go-round, which if you fall off, you end up in toxic sludge. And probably one of the most insanely disturbing ones he's ever created, the slide of saws. Yeah, it's one thing to see like adults go through this kind of thing, but when it's the little ones, it's different. Obviously, when reading this, it feels very much like the Saw movies mixed with something like the Hunger Games. Though I'm pretty sure these kids are actually younger than the ones selected in the Hunger Games. Now, at least in my opinion, this is a little bit easier to get through than like a movie, you know? Like, I highly doubt they'll ever make a movie out of Playground. I don't really know if they should, but I will say I would love to see some of these traps like in real life. Yeah, seeing these traps in real life would be really cool, but there is absolutely no way they are making this book into a movie. I mean, it's already insanely taboo to off the things and people that are in this book, let alone the stuff that happens on page 40. Oh yeah, we haven't even talked about page 40 yet. Page 40 was just like a very infamous thing that kind of rolled around the internet when they were talking about Playground the book. And what I find hilarious is that what goes on in page 40 is a whole different kind of disturbing that happens throughout the rest of the entire novel. Of course you want to know. What happens in page 40? Well, nothing would give me more joy than to read the entirety of page 40. And in my opinion, it's kind of more like page 40 to like page 60 something. It's not just page 40. I think it kind of starts at page 40 and then it goes and then you're like, okay, now it's finally over. But I'm not sure if I can actually say what's on this page, but I can describe it to you. So Geraldine obviously sets all this stuff, creates the playground, and is so like sadistic and disturbing. Like I said before, like one of the most insane characters Erin Beauregard has ever written. And Rock, that character from the beginning that I said was like a very hulking gorilla, is actually her son. Now, obviously, the relationship between Geraldine and Rock is less than perfect. Actually, it's less than good, less than okay. It's awful. It is absolutely awful. And one of those awful things happens on page 40. But basically, to kind of sum it up, Geraldine makes Rock chase the rainbow. And Erin uses a lot of adjectives to describe Rock's experience with tasting the rainbow. Like, for instance, like she arched her head back and used her free hand to latch onto the hairs growing from her mole. Okay. Basically, it's a really disturbing and very, very gross scene. But I personally think it gets worse when she starts talking about her childhood and what her mother did to her. Yeah, it's kind of one of those moments where you're like, your imagination could probably think of something grosser, but I actually don't think that's the case for this book. So to kind of wrap up my thoughts, why exactly did I pick up this book? Why did I start reading it? Why did I make it past page 40? And why did I keep going and finish the whole thing? Honestly, my best answer was really morbid curiosity, because the saw traps and the playground traps in here just kept getting more and more interesting, even though it was happening to, you know, people I actually kind of cared about and really hit in the feels. But I will say he wrote a really sad ending. Probably one of the more saddest endings of the books I've read. Besides, the ending of Son of the Slob's pretty sad too. So I guess really what kind of shocked me here is that the writing is not amazing. Like I'm not here to say like Erin is like the greatest writer I have ever read. But after learning that it was splatterpunk and having read some splatterpunk books be just kind of like, oh, okay, it's just this, oh, okay, it's just that, I was kind of shocked to actually, one, care about the characters, period, and two, have an engaging story. Like, I know that's kind of like bare bones and bottom of the barrel, like the standard for a book, but you would be surprised, like with some of the crazy things that happen in here, that there's actually characters, plot, and some things that you genuinely tug on the heartstrings. Now, please, if you're not into that sort of thing, do not pick up this book, because it's not going to be fun for you. I can promise you that. But I will say, if you're trying to get into splatterpunk, period, this might be a decent one to start with, mostly because like it actually has an engaging story, and I think the traps are very, very cool in this book. But yeah, honestly, what did you think? Have you read Playground before? Have you heard about it? Have you ever thought about reading it? Definitely let me know in the comments below. And sincerely, thank you for watching this video. You are awesome. Awesome.